Let's talk about 12 Angry Men and StudySync. StudySync has given us a tiny bit of the play, but luckily it's at the beginning. However, I still want to give you some background, and then I'll show you a couple clips, and then we'll talk about the questions. 12 Angry Men, the 12 men refer to the jury. And there's a 16-year-old immigrant boy, minority, who has been, and that's important, who has been accused of killing his father. They found the father. He was stabbed with a very unique switchblade, they say. And the boy had gone out and bought a switchblade just like it that very same day. He was overheard having an argument. And so the whole trial, the play begins, the trial is finished. Now it's up to the jury to decide if the boy is innocent or guilty. So they go into the room, and there's a lot of talking back and forth, but then they decide, let's go and have a vote. So if we look at the passage, there's some important lines in here because each man has a unique personality. There's 12 altogether. The first part that we have here is the seventh juror who says, this better be fast. I got tickets to the ball game tonight. Now, what does that tell us about his personality? It tells us that he's not really concerned about finding out the truth. He's got tickets to the game. He wants, let's vote and get out of here. Then the foreman, and I believe there's a question about this, he says, well, I was thinking we ought to sit in order. He wants everybody to sit down. They're going to take a vote. And he says, one guy says, where do you want us to sit? And the foreman is the juror who's in charge. He's been chosen at random to be the leader. And he says, well, I was thinking we ought to sit in order by jury numbers, 2, 3, 4, and so on, if that's okay with you gentlemen. And every bit that he's in, they show him as being not much of a leader. All right? So they all sit down, and there's people jibber-jabbering, talking back and forth. But then we get to juror number 10. And here's what he says. It's those people. I'm telling you, they let the kids run wild up there. Well, maybe it serves them right. Know what I mean? There's some more lines from him that support what I'm about to tell you. And if you read the whole play, you'll find out that juror number 10 is a racist, which ends up offending another. Not only is he racist, he also doesn't like poor people. And so one of the jurors is an immigrant, and another juror grew up poor, and so that causes a big conflict. Now here's what the foreman says, and I've jumped down a little bit more. He says, all right, now you gentlemen can handle this any way you want to. I mean, I'm not going to have any rules. If we want to discuss first and then vote, that's one way. Or we can vote right now to see how we stand. Well, that's all I had to say. So again, not much of a leader. So there's some jabber back and forth. Juror number 7 says, yeah, let's vote. Maybe we can all go home. Again, he just wants to go. He's got tickets. Chat back and forth. And then very important part with a murder trial is that it has to be unanimous. Everybody has to vote and agree that the person is guilty or not guilty. That sums up the first clip that I'm going to show you.
Swallow the pan. Yeah. Try this one. Muggy there. Hey, oh. Fish gum? Oh, thanks. Huh? Oh, hammer down.
Going for the cats.
You know something? I called the weather bureau this morning. This is going to be the hottest day of the year. Well, you'd think that at least air condition these places. What's your name, sir?
Oh, it's, that one, yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, gentlemen. Everybody's here. Now, if there's anything you want, I'll be right outside the door. Just knock.
Okay.
I never knew they locked the door.
Sure they locked the door. What'd you think?
I don't know. It just never occurred to me.
What's that for?
Oh, I thought we might want to vote by ballot.
Great idea. Maybe we can get him elected senator.
How'd you like it?
Oh, I don't know. It was pretty interesting.
I almost fell asleep.
I mean, I've never been on a jury before.
No, I sat on many juries. What gets me is the way those lawyers talk and talk and talk, even when it's an open and shut case like this one. I mean, did you ever hear so much talk about nothing?
Well, I guess they're entitled.
They're entitled. It's a system, but if you ask me, I'd slap those tough kids down before they start any trouble. Saves a lot of time and money. Now, let's get started, huh?
Good idea.
Yeah, let's get going, huh? We probably all got things to do here.
Well, I figure we'd start out with a 5-minute break. There's one gentleman in the bathroom.
You gonna sit down?
Gee, I don't know. I guess so.
You're in my seat.
Oh,
Excuse me. Sorry.
yeah, it's got a bad view, huh? What did you think of the case? I mean, it had a lot of interest for me. No real dead spots, you know what I mean? I tell you, we were lucky to get a murder case. I figured that's for an assault or burglary. Boy, they can be the dullest. Hey, that the Woolworth building?
That's right.
Isn't that funny? You know, I've lived here all my life. I've never been inside that.
You had to sort out all that junk. Like that thing with the movies.
Yeah, you can say that again. What about that business with the knife? I mean, asking grown-up people who believe that kind of jazz, huh?
I expect that. You know what we're dealing with.
Yeah, I guess. Well, your horn works. Now try your lights. What do you got, a cold?
And how these hot weather colds can kill you. I can hardly touch my nose. You know what I mean?
You sure do. I just got over one. Oh, come on, Mr. Foreman. Let's go here, huh?
Well, the guy's still in the bathroom.
Hey, what's new? I didn't get a chance to see a paper this morning.
I was only wondering how the market closed.
You got a seat on the exchange?
I'm a broker.
I run a messenger service. The Beck and Call Company. The name is my wife's idea. Got 37 men working. Started with nothing.
Okay, man, let's take our seats, huh?
Yeah, we can all get out of here pretty quick, huh? I don't know about the rest of you, but I happen to have tickets to that ball game tonight. Yanks in Cleveland. Yeah, we got this kid Modulewski in there. Oh, he's a real bull, this kid. You know, boom, real jug handle. You know? Boom. You're a real baseball fan, aren't you, huh? Yeah. Where do we sit here?
Well, I thought we'd sit in order, you know, by jury numbers of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on around the table. That's okay with you, gentlemen.
What's the difference?
I think it's reasonable to sit in order.
Let it be.
Number 12 sit about right here.
Yeah, let's, well, we go around the
Start
front.
with you, one,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
What was your impression of the prosecuting attorneys?
Okay. 2, 2.
I beg pardon? I thought he was really sharp. Well, the way he hammered home those points one by one, logical sequence. I was very impressed.
I think he did an expert job.
A lot of drive, too, you know? Real drive.
Okay, fellas, can we hold it down a minute? Fellas, say we'd like to get started. Gentlemen at the window.
This next clip shows the vote itself. And they all vote guilty, except one character played by Henry Fonda who votes not guilty. And you'll see the reactions of the people. One guy goes, "There's always one." So they ask him, why do you not want to vote guilty? And he says, well, you know, this is a 16-year-old boy. He's had a rough life, and maybe we ought to give him a chance. And they argue about that and say, well, he already had a chance. That's what the whole trial was. And then, it's not in our script, but bit by bit, he picks the arguments apart. So they talk back and forth. And at the end of our selection, it says, maybe for no reason. I don't know. This is the part I said. It says, the boy's been kicked around all of his life, you know, living in a slum. His mother dead since he was 9. He spent 1.5 years in an orphanage when his father served a jail term for forgery. That's not a very good head start. He's had a pretty terrible 16 years. I think maybe we owe him a few words. That's all. And we get that. It's really, he's a bigot more than just a racist. Racist is very particular. My race is better than your race. Bigot is everything about me is better than everything about you. And so he goes on and says, hey, look, we don't owe him anything. All right? Who cares how he grew up? He killed his father. He says, I know, we know what he is. Listen, I've lived among them all my life. You can't believe a word they say. I mean, they're born liars. And then another juror jumps up and says, you know, you're pretty ignorant. So our part ends right there. And you'll see it in this clip where one guy says, we don't need a sermon.
Now, all those voting guilty, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, that's 11 guilty. All those voting not guilty? 1. Right. 11 guilty, 1 not guilty. Well, now we know where we are.
Boy, oh boy, there's always one.
Oh, what are we doing now?
I guess we talk. Boy, oh boy.
You really think he's innocent?
I don't know.
I mean, you sat in court with the rest of us. You heard what we did. The kid's a dangerous killer. You could see it.
He's 18 years old.
Well, that's old enough. He stabbed his own father 4 inches into the chest. They proved it 12 different ways in court. Would you like me to list them for you?
No.
Then what do you want?
I just want to talk.
Well, what's there to talk about? 11 men in here think he's guilty. No one had to think about it twice except you.
I want to ask you something. Do you believe his story?
I don't know whether I believe it or not. Maybe I don't.
So how come you vote not guilty?
Well, there were 11 votes for guilty. It's not easy to raise my hand and send a boy off to die without talking about it first.
Well, now, who says it's easy?
No one.
What, just because I voted fast? I honestly think the guy's guilty. Couldn't change my mind if you talked for 100 years.
I'm not trying to change your mind. It's just that we're talking about somebody's life here. We can't decide it in 5 minutes, supposing we're wrong.
Supposing we're wrong. Yeah. Supposing this whole building should fall down on my head. You can suppose anything.
That's right.
Look, what's the difference how long it takes? Suppose we do it in 5 minutes, so what?
Let's take an hour. Ball game doesn't start till 8 o'clock.
Who's got something to say?
I'm willing to sit for an hour.
Great. I heard a pretty good story last night. That's not why we're sitting here.
All right, then you tell me. What are we sitting here for?
I don't know, maybe no reason. Look, this kid's been kicked around all of his life. You know, born in a slum, mother dead since he was 9. He lived for 1.5 years in an orphanage when his father was serving a jail term for forgery. It's not a very happy beginning. He's a wild, angry kid. That's all he's ever been. And you know why? Because he's been hit on the head by somebody once a day, every day. He's had a pretty miserable 18 years. I just think we owe him a few words, that's all.
I don't mind telling you this, mister. We don't owe him a thing. He got a fair trial, didn't he? What do you think that trial cost? He's lucky he got it. Know what I mean? No. Now, look, we're all grown-ups in here. We heard the facts, didn't we?
You're not going to tell me that we're supposed to believe this kid knowing what he is? Listen, I've lived among them all my life. You can't believe a word they say. You know that. I mean, they're born liars.
Only an ignorant man can believe that.
Now, listen.
Do you think you were born with a monopoly on the truth? I think certain things should be pointed out to this man.
Come on, this isn't Sunday. We don't need a sermon.
Come on, we have a job to do now. Let's do it.
So that's where our part of the play ends. And there's a whole ton to go. If you are curious about how it ends, you can watch it on YouTube. Or in our Zoom lesson, I'll tell everybody how it ends. But let's take a look at the questions. In the first part, it has that little bit of scene, and it has the seventh juror saying, I've got tickets to a ball game tonight. Well, what does that tell us about him? Easy answer. It's right there. Question number 2, this is the part about the paragraph. About the foreman. He says, all right, now you gentlemen can handle this any way you want to. So he's supposed to be the leader. We can do it any way you want to. I'm not going to have any rules. We can talk about it. We can vote. That's one way. Or we can just have a vote. Okay, that's all I have to say. So what does it tell us about his leadership abilities, his leadership style, his self-confidence? Number 3. Now, I read through the part that we have, and you've watched the clips. This question, if you don't watch the clips, and if you're just reading it to yourself, I don't know that you're really going to get the answer. But based on what you know, you've got this bigot, you've got some loudmouth people, and you've got the juror who's soft-spoken and compliant, means whatever y'all want. Take a look at this. What do you think the relationship between these people is? Those with power often take advantage of the weak. The majority of the people are motivated by revenge. Most people will stand up to bullies. All jurors in this country want to deliver a fair verdict. Hopefully you can get rid of 2 of those very easily. But think about the clip. Think about what you saw the most. Narrow it down to 2 and pick the best. Question number 4. Juror number 8, he's the one who said not guilty. His not guilty vote does what to the plot? Does it convince the others that the defendants are innocent? The defendant is innocent just by his initial vote of not guilty? Does that alone convince them? Or B, does it introduce the conflict between him and the other 11 jurors because they disagree with him? Does it suggest that he will eventually change his mind? Or does it suggest that he is a personal friend of the defendants? Now, if you don't rush through these, you'll get them right. Question 5, what inference, what can you tell about Juror 8 based on his dialogue? Now, you only have a little bit of it. You don't have the whole play. But based on his dialogue and a section we read, A, does he think the defendant probably murdered his father over money? Does he believe that the defendant is mentally ill and shouldn't be tried as an adult? Does he feel sorry for the defendant because the defendant has had a difficult life? Or does he suspect that the murderer was someone related to the defendant? Again, I think it's easy, but I've taught this before. I read a particular part. That should have been a clue for you. Question 6. Which line supports your answer to number 5? I don't want to change your mind. I think we owe him a few words. He's a tough, angry kid. Or, look, this boy's been kicked around all his life. If you got number 5 right, then the answer to number 6 will be easy. Number 7. Juror number 10 What do we get from his dialogue? A, he has more money than any of the other jurors. He has bigoted and narrow-minded attitudes about certain groups of people. He doesn't believe that the defendant should have been tried as an adult. He and his family immigrated to the United States from Germany. All right, well, I definitely gave that one away in my conversation. Number 8. What is the best support for question number 7? It's pretty tough to figure, isn't it? A kid kills his father, bing, just like that. Or B, it's those people, I'm telling you, they let the kids run wild up there. Well, maybe it serves them right. Know what I mean? Or C, all right, then you tell me, what are we sitting here for? Or D, what are you making a federal case out of it for? How do you like this guy? Question 9 is putting things in the order that they happened. And question 10 is probably, yep, who said what? And all you have to do is go back and look through the text, the play, and you'll get it. So, make an A, get them all right, and I will see you later.